We conducted an interview study to understand the effects of unexpected model updates on users. Normally, users are faced with software updates. They follow the following 6 stages. When any of the stages are not followed, users might experience distrust of their software or loss of control. However, proprietary large language model providers seem to ignore such practice. For example, OpenAI has abruptly discontinued Codex model with only 3 days of notice. With such unannounced discontinuation, OpenAI ignored the first 4 stages where the user should be given agency of whether to pursue a certain software update, caused a lot of user frustrations. We want to figure out how do people perceive the model update practices of these proprietary large language model companies, and what makes these updates really different from traditional software updates, or are they? If so, to what extent? With an interview study with end users, developers, and researchers, we have found a variety of ways where users can be affected by model updates. Most importantly, there's not enough warning or documentation about these model changes. The transparency about this update is a huge issue. Because of such uncertainty, users have lost trust in some of these large language model APIs, only consider them as prototyping tools, and have been considering alternatives, such as open source models. Then how do users feel that large language model updates are different from traditional software updates? They felt that the distinction was not that much, as both face similar challenges and should adhere to established update practices. Some did mention that large language models are more open domain, and we cannot predict all the use cases. Large language models are too complicated to explain, and it is impossible to understand a large language model update like you would with a code change. However, we see that benchmarking traditional software is not straightforward either, and it is true that there are established practices like unit testing, but unpredictable edge cases in software is still an issue, and API revisions and refactoring can cause 80% of disruptive code changes. So our work suggested that despite their technical differences in size, large language model updates are still quite similar to traditional software updates. The idea that large language model update needs special treatment doesn't really hold up. And finally, we want to end with a user quote. OpenAI has a bit of hubris about their ability to achieve AGI, where they're literally just making one model. My advice is to focus on being a good software vendor. OpenAI think of large language model as a new kind of software, but it's just software, and companies are always judged by the quality of their documentation and the quality of their product.